Can I submit a thought to you today? God does not feel sorry for you. Now, I say that with the utmost respect, and that does not mean that he doesn't care about you. When you talk about caring about someone and loving someone, God is the master of that. I mean, who cares enough to count the numbers of hair on your head? Who cares enough to do that? I mean, my number changes daily. So there is an amount of care that God has, but in terms of feeling sorry for you and thinking maybe that you are a victim in a situation, I'm not sure he does that. I say that because over the last couple of days, I've been thinking a lot about one of my favorite stories in the Bible, in John chapter 5, when the impotent man was at the pool of Bethesda. And it's such a great story. So if you're not familiar with it, I recommend that you read it. But if you are familiar, maybe read it again and take another look. But it's so interesting because this man was sick and he was by the pool, and everyone knew that at a certain time you could be healed in this pool. And every time this man would come, but he would miss the opportunity because the person who would be healed was the first person to get into the water. Well, lo and behold, the man is by the pool. It's about that appointed time. And Jesus shows up. Jesus himself, Jesus, God incarnate, very life-giving spirit himself shows up. And he asked him, he said, will you be made whole? Simple yes or no question, one might think. And his response was not yes or no, as the question would have demanded when it was asked, but the response was a list of excuses. And I don't know what his motivation was for that. I think maybe he was a beggar, and if people felt sorry for them, they would give him something. But now he's in the presence of the Most High, the presence of the person who has the ability to make all things new, the ability to heal, the ability to restore. And here he is given an opportunity. Do you want to be well? He could have just said yes. Or he could have just said, no, I like begging and I like people feeling sorry for me and giving me money. But what he said was, oh, you won't believe what happens. Every time the angel troubles the water, nobody's there to help me. Nobody will put me in the water. And he gave a list of excuses, and it's comical when I look at it. And one of the reasons it's comical is because I too have presented excuses when God asks me a question. And sometimes it's not in the form of that type of question, like, will you be made whole? But sometimes it's like, okay, Anita, I want you to go forth and do this. And then we come up with all the reasons that, I can't do that. Well, you didn't see my bank account, and you didn't understand that I don't have any help. I don't have anyone to put me in the water. I try, but somebody always gets in before me, as if God's blessings are limited and there's only a certain amount to go around, which is not the case. But I just wanted to say this today because I think a lot of times we go to God and we list out these excuses for things that he's told us to do. And where our excuses may be valid in some circumstance, definitely in the presence of a God who can do all things and who can do the impossible, those excuses aren't so valid. So I just want to challenge you. If you are a person who's had excuses for not moving forward in an area where God has told you to move, first of all, be encouraged. You are in good company. The man at the pool of Bethesda was full of excuses. And at the end of the story, he gets healed. Moses was full of excuses. I mean, Moses was a master at disqualifying himself, saying, well, I stutter, and I don't have eloquent speech. And he had all these reasons why God wouldn't have chose him. And every time he gave an excuse, God gave the remedy. So I just wanted to encourage you today, because God doesn't feel sorry for you. If you're going to God wanting him to join your pity party and RSVP and say, I'm showing up and I'm going to coddle you and feel sorry for you, he's not going to do that. And most likely you may have felt abandoned, or you may have felt rejected in your prayer time because you feel like you didn't get the, you didn't get the response from God that you wanted when you presented your case, or you presented your excuses, or you presented the thing that was bogging you down or a challenge for you, and he didn't co-sign. He's not going to co-sign your excuses. He's not going to co-sign your victim mentality. And here's the thing about God, is the thing that we can't see about ourselves, he's already seen before the foundations of the earth. So when you feel sorry for yourself and God does not respond, and co-sign your pity, just understand that God knows, even if you don't know, God knows that you are not a victim. God already knows that you are victorious. God already knows that you are going to walk into the promise. God already knows that everything that you need to accomplish what it is he's told you to do has been provided for you as soon as you start to move. God already knows how this thing ends. So when you come to him and you give these sob stories and these excuses and you want him to RSVP for your pity party, just know that God already knows that you have the victory. So if you feel like he's not jiving with you or he's not on the same page with you, let me reassure you, he isn't. And it is not our responsibility to bring him on our page, but it is our responsibility to get on his page. So I just want you to know today, and I hope this is a word of encouragement for someone, God does not feel sorry for you. And the reason he doesn't feel sorry for you is that the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, and it will quicken your mortal body. The same spirit is inside of you, and you can do anything that he set before you. You are not a victim. You are a victor. You are not a chump. You are a champion. You are made in the image and likeness of God. Even if you can't see it, he can. So just know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if God's not feeling sorry for you, that's a good sign, because he knows that the promise will be manifested for you when you line up with him. So be encouraged. You're not a victim. You are a victor. God bless.